Elon Musk's SpaceX just handed an open-source AI lab access to thousands of GPU hours, and the move quietly reshapes who gets to build the future's most powerful AI models. Here's why that matters. Reflection AI is a research-focused open-source collective working on some of the cutting-edge AI problems that the big labs don't want to touch, things like interpretability, reasoning optimization, and building smaller models that actually work efficiently. For the longest time, they've been scrappy, limited compute, relying on donated resources and clever engineering tricks to squeeze training into tight budgets. Then SpaceX made the announcement they're providing significant compute resources to power Reflection's research. Not a small grant, a genuine partnership that opens up infrastructure that previously only the megacorporations could access. This isn't just another sponsorship deal. It's a signal that the AI arms race is fragmenting. The biggest players, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, have spent tens of billions building internal supercomputers, but now a rocket company is staking a claim in the open-source AI ecosystem. SpaceX has spare compute capacity from its internal operations, and they are leveraging it strategically. The question racing through Silicon Valley right now isn't just, what will Reflection build with this? It's what happens when the military-industrial space complex and grassroots AI research start collaborating. And this is where it gets interesting. So who's Reflection AI exactly? They're a distributed research collective focused on open-source AI development. Unlike Anthropic or OpenAI, they're not a startup trying to build a consumer product or compete directly with ChatGPT. Instead, they're academic-adjacent researchers building tools and models that the entire community can use and improve. Their focus areas are things like mechanistic interpretability, basically understanding how neural networks actually think, and efficient scaling, which means building models that don't require a data center to run. They've published research on reasoning and optimization techniques that have shaped how others train their models. For years, this work happened on a shoestring budget. Open-source AI researchers typically cobble together free credits from cloud providers, negotiate discounts, or run experiments during off-peak hours to save cost. Reflection AI was no exception. They'd optimize code obsessively, use clever techniques to reduce GPU memory usage, and prioritize the experiments that would yield the most insight per dollar spent. The compute constraint has always been their limiting factor. With limited resources, you can't run the kind of large-scale experiments that reveal fundamental insights. You can't iterate quickly. You can't take risks on speculative ideas because failure costs real money. That's where SpaceX comes in. Here's what the headlines aren't telling you. SpaceX announced they're providing Reflection AI access to compute infrastructure. Think of it as giving them keys to a massive GPU cluster. The exact configuration hasn't been fully disclosed, but we are talking thousands of GPU hours. That could mean anything from high-end H100 for training large models to A100s for faster iteration. Here's the strategic angle. SpaceX has internal AI needs. Autonomous vehicle guidance, satellite optimization, launch predictions, all of these are computationally intensive. SpaceX built out their own infrastructure to handle these workloads, but like most organizations, they have idle capacity. When you're running rockets every few weeks, some of your compute sits unused. Rather than let that capacity sit idle, SpaceX is partnering with Reflection AI. It's a brilliant business move. They get the goodwill and talent magnetism of supporting open-source research. They're positioning themselves as infrastructure players in the AI ecosystem. And frankly, open-source research produces insights that benefit everyone, including SpaceX. The timing's crucial too. AI talent is desperately scarce. By backing Reflection AI publicly, SpaceX signals to researchers that they care about open-source work and they're willing to put resources behind it. That makes them a more attractive employer and collaborator. This isn't philanthropy. It's strategic infrastructure allocation, using spare capacity to influence the direction of AI research and build brand credibility in a space where that matters enormously. And that's just the beginning. So what will Reflection AI actually build with this compute? They're already working on several research directions that benefit from more horsepower. First, there's reasoning and mathematical problem solving. Recent breakthroughs like OpenAI's O1 model have shown that scaling up reasoning actually works. Models can be trained to think through problems step by step instead of just pattern matching. Reflection AI wants to explore open-source alternatives to O1, and that requires serious compute. Second, they're pursuing mechanistic interpretability research at scale. This is the effort to literally understand how the weights and neurons inside a neural network produce the model's outputs. Most of this work happens on tiny models because the math explodes with larger models. More compute means they can interpret bigger, more capable models, which means better safety research for everyone. Third, efficient model architectures. Dream of AI research is building models that are both capable and small enough to run on consumer devices. Reflection's been experimenting with architectural innovations that might get you 90% of GPT-4 capability in a model that runs on a laptop. Those experiments need iteration, and iteration needs compute. Finally, they're exploring multimodal models, systems that understand text, images, and video together. That's where the field's heading. And Reflection wants to ensure the open-source community keeps pace. With SpaceX's infrastructure, they can now pursue all of these simultaneously. Here's where it gets complicated. Now, how does this partnership compare to what other companies are doing with AI research? Google's been supporting TensorFlow and open-source research for years, but they do it through their own products. Google Cloud gives credits to researchers, sure, but there's always an expectation that they'll prefer Google's stack. Microsoft's similar, they sponsor OpenAI research, but it's through Azure credits and tightly integrated with their platform. Anthropic published their constitutional AI research openly, but they're not giving researchers tons of free compute. They're a for-profit company focused on their own product. SpaceX's move is different in a crucial way. They're not asking Reflection AI to use their cloud platform. They're not tying the partnership to future business. They're saying, here's infrastructure, do your research, publish whatever you want. We're not counting on a return. That's genuinely rare at this scale. It's closer to what the National Science Foundation or academic institutions do, pure research funding with minimal strings attached. There's a catch, though. SpaceX wants something. Maybe it's talent acquisition. Maybe they want access to Reflection's research early. Maybe they're hedging against proprietary AI models getting too powerful. The big picture is about ecosystem control. As AI gets more capable, the question of who owns the tools and infrastructure becomes critical. Google and Microsoft and Amazon have cloud dominance, but open source is fragmenting that power. SpaceX's backing says they want influence in a world where compute is decentralized. But here's what changes everything. Here's what this deal actually signals about the future of AI development. For years, the narrative was that only megacorporations could build world-class AI because only they had the infrastructure and capital. OpenAI needed Microsoft backing. Google has internal resources. Anthropic's well-funded. But what if that's starting to change? This SpaceX partnership suggests a different path forward. A startup or research collective might not need billions in venture capital if they can access idle compute from companies that already have infrastructure. That democratizes AI development. It means the barrier to entry drops significantly, but there's a geopolitical angle here too. The United States is watching China advance in AI capability. There's real concern about falling behind. Anything that strengthens American AI research, open or closed, serves national interests. By backing Reflection AI, SpaceX is helping the United States maintain competitiveness in AI, which also happens to align with their business interests. This also reshapes how startups think about partnerships. Rather than taking venture capital, you might partner with infrastructure-rich companies for compute access. That changes the power dynamics. Instead of investors owning a chunk of your company, you're collaborating with operational partners. The wild card is safety research. Reflection's work on interpretability directly impacts how we understand and align AI systems. If that research accelerates due to better compute access, we get safer AI systems faster. That benefits everyone. This partnership matters because it proves the model works, and that means others will copy it. If you want to track open-source AI developments like this, here's what to pay attention to. First, follow Reflection AI's GitHub repos and their research papers on Azure. They publish everything openly, so you can actually see what they are building. Most researchers announce major breakthroughs here weeks before it hits tech news. Join their Discord or community forums if they have them. That's where the real technical discussion happens. Second, track compute partnerships more broadly. Whenever a company announces they are backing research infrastructure, that's a signal about who they are betting on. Set up Google alerts for terms like compute sponsorship or research infrastructure partnership. These deals often fly under the radar but shape the field's direction. Third, monitor the actual models coming out. Reflection will release checkpoints and code for models trained with this compute. If they release something that outperforms expectations, that's the real proof that the partnership worked. Benchmark the models on established tests, reasoning, coding, math. Fourth, watch for follow-up partnerships. If this SpaceX deal succeeds, you'll see other infrastructure-rich companies doing similar things. That's how you know a trend is real. Finally, pay attention to safety research. If Reflection's interpretability work accelerates, that's the biggest win for everyone. Search Azure regularly for their papers. The technical details matter less than the pace of progress. The broader pattern here is that computing power is becoming the new competitive edge. Here's what this all means. For the first time, open-source AI research has the infrastructure to compete seriously with proprietary systems. Reflection AI can now run experiments that were previously impossible. They can pursue bold ideas. They can publish findings that shape how the entire field advances. For SpaceX, this is a smart play. They are signaling that they are a stakeholder in AI's future, not just a space company. They're building relationships with the researchers who will shape the next decade of AI development. And they are doing it at a fraction of the cost of building proprietary AI from scratch. For the rest of us, this matters because it keeps the power distributed. If only Google and OpenAI and Microsoft could afford cutting-edge AI research, the field would be narrower, closed, corporate. SpaceX's partnership with Reflection reminds us that there's still space for independent voices and open-source breakthroughs. Watch for two things going forward. First, the models and research that Reflection releases. If they produce something genuinely novel, this partnership will have paid off in ways we haven't anticipated yet. Second, watch whether other companies follow suit. If Amazon or Nvidia or Intel start similar partnerships, you'll know the compute access model is spreading. The AI arms race isn't just about who builds the biggest model anymore. It's about who controls the tools, the infrastructure, and the narrative. SpaceX's bet on Reflection AI is a bet that they'll have a seat at that table. Follow for daily AI news.